The Prime Minister Julia Gillard has unveiled what's claimed to be the biggest overhaul of aged care services in 3 decades, winning applause from providers and workers in the sector. Opposition Leader Tony Abbott is pointing out that many will pay more as a result of the reforms as the government redesigns a system that must cope with a growing population of older Australians. Political correspondent Tom Eagleton reports from Canberra.
They were the generation that gave us everything from rock and roll to the moon landing. And now they're in need of something in return.
The baby boomers, who will clearly want more options and choices than older Australians have sought in the past.
Kick out, press up.
Now on the edge of retirement, the ones who invented one fitness craze after another are expected to live longer than ever, swaying the government to reform aged care for the first time in 30 years.
Transforming a system that was built in the 1980s around nursing homes.
Places in homes are already so tight, the government says some providers are demanding bonds of more than $2.5 million.
Perhaps most disturbingly of all, 40% of older Australians are forced into emergency fire sales of their homes in order to raise the money to pay for care.
A new regulator will oversee bonds and fees charged to customers, while the government looks to reduce demand for places by boosting home care services from 60,000 to 100,000.
More people will get to keep their home and more people will get to stay in their home.
And appropriately for the generation that dreamt up the internet, a new website will allow comparisons between nursing home providers.
Their services, their amenities, their staffing levels, their fees and charges, their history of complaints, if they have any, and for the first time, a ratings system.
The government will pump $270 million into extra care for dementia sufferers. There are financial incentives for providers to build or upgrade facilities and a likely pay rise for workers who staff them. It's a deal that's given unions and operators most of what they wanted since presenting a united case for reform to the government 3 years ago.
That money is going to improve the quality of services with a particular focus on disadvantaged groups.
With just $500 million in new spending, the $3.7 billion reforms will be paid for by major changes to how the system's set up.
Now, this recognises a simple reality that those who can support themselves and contribute a bit more should, and that we must look after the needs of those who can't.
In other words, means testing will determine how much people pay for their own care. But there are important limitations. A $25,000 a year cap on patient contributions and a $60,000 lifetime cap. The family home won't be included in the means test, and those on the full pension will pay nothing. Tony Abbott says he supports some change.
I accept that the system is under strain. I absolutely accept that.
But quickly pointed out flaws in the new system.
More means testing means more people pay more. More user pays means more people pay more.
So let's expect all of the shrill negativity today, because Mr Abbott's got no other speed when he's in front of the media. But when it's in the Parliament, we would expect Mr Abbott to honour his words.
And Mr Abbott had a policy announcement of his own today, a one-stop shop for environmental approvals to be run by the states.
Ever since I was old enough to understand the term, I've regarded myself as a conservationist. The terms conservative and conservation have a common root.
But non-conservative conservationists have their doubts about the plan.
Ripping the federal environment laws away and giving them to the states for approval would have meant, for example, that Tasmania would have approved the Franklin Dam, the Queensland government would have allowed oil drilling on the Great Barrier Reef.
And so another topsy-turvy day in politics, with Labor trying to appeal to older voters who usually go Conservative, and the Conservatives trying to paint themselves green. Tom Eagleton, Lateline.